how to enable, like when you want to start with the Lightning, the first thing that we need to do is create a domain for your organization. For the Salesforce, we have to enable the domain. Why enabling the domain? Salesforce has insisted you to go for a private domain instead of having a login.salesforce.com. For the better service and better security, Salesforce has insisted was everyone who is going to work on the Lightning, create your own domain name rather than using login.salesforce.com. Generally what we do, if you want to log in, we will say login.salesforce.com, which is common for everyone. But if you want to work with the Lightning, Salesforce has insisted that everyone has to create their own personal domain name for your organization to provide better service and security and speeder access. Right. For that, what the Salesforce has done, create a domain for your organization. So how do you create a domain? Setup, administer, setup, administer, domain management, my domain. Do you have any domain? Bash 292, check the availability. It's available. Then what I'm doing? The registration process will take a couple of minutes. Domain name is already used. Register. This is the pending process. Once it is completed, you will receive an email. The registration is completed. Once it's completed, we get the email. This guy, instead of forwarding the mail to his email ID, he forwarded it to me. Right. Okay. The domain name is created. Once the domain name is created, then what happened? You will receive the corresponding link. Once you get the corresponding link, we need to activate it. Once it is completed, what will you get? You get a button here, login. You might have received test mail also. Okay. So go back here, click on login. When you click on login, look at the URL on the top. So what is the URL we got? Login.291 dev my edition. Then, do you want to give this URL for everyone? You want every user to log in with this URL? Then we say deploy to users. First, login, test the connection. When you log in, it is a testing a connection, domain name. Then deploy to users. So that everybody can log in. Every user of my organization can log in with this. When every user is logging with this, they are asking, do you want to avoid people from logging with login.salesforce.com? You already created your own domain. You want to stop the people from logging from login.salesforce.com? Then we need to disable this. What is the option here? Prevent the users from login.salesforce.com. Then, if you can avoid, I am avoiding this. If you avoid, people have to use only this URL to log in. Right, boss? This is how you enable the domain name. Once the domain name is enabled, then we are going for a next one, package and namespace. We have done the creation of domain, then we are going with package and namespace. What are these packages and namespaces? Look at the point. In the Salesforce, package is a collection of elements. Which elements? Objects, fields, workflows, approvals, classes, visual force pages, triggers, combination of elements you are making together to run a functionality. Package is a collection of elements. What type of elements? Objects, fields, validation, formulas, workflows, approvals, working, effects classes, triggers, VF, anything of your choice you may put it. Packages are nothing but collection of elements. Now there are two types of packages we have. Unmanaged packages and managed packages. When you say unmanaged packages, if you want to give any project as an open source means when I give a package to you, if you install the package along with the package, corresponding source code also will come to you. When you install, you will also get the source code. The code also will get it. Once you get the code, if you want to modify, you can modify the code according to your wish. You want to add anything new, you can add it. That means, if I give a package to you, once you install, I cannot manage, I cannot control the package anymore. It is within your control because source code is also visible to you. You can make the required changes. Are you getting my point? Now, I created a package and I delivered the package to you in the form of unmanaged. When I created a package, when I delivered to you in the form of unmanaged, let us say it is capital info, we develop a package. We developed a package called GST application. Right. I give the package. Now this is taken by one of the company, let's say. I gave this package. When I sold this package to JP Morgan, and I gave the package in the form of what? Unmanaged. When I say I give the package in the form of unmanaged, what they are going to get? Once I give, they get the complete package with the. When they get the source code, JP Morgan appointed some developers to modify that application according to their choice. They made some changes, they made some additional functionality. They gave some additional functionality and they told, use according to your choice. Use according to your choice. It is what? What is this one called? Unmanaged. Once they install, once the JP Morgan install a package, now capital cannot control that. What is there in that package I cannot control. I don't have the idea about what they have. They can make n number of changes. They can add a new functionality. Because I am also giving what? Source code. I am also giving what? Source code. I am also giving what? Source code. Like your Java. Once you download a Java, you get a Java software along with the source code. Now, in the source code, you can make a number of changes in the source code, make your own functionality and classes in the Java. Once you download the Java, you also get the source code of the Java. There I can open and I can make modifications according to my requirement. I can make modification. So once the people have installed the Java, I don't have any more control on it. Once the people have installed the Java, I don't have any control on it. So look at this. I have a library. All these library files are there. I can open these library files, make the changes on it. I can open the files, make the changes according to my requirement and use it. Once the person downloaded the Java, Oracle don't have any control on it. You can keep on modifying it. You can keep on adding as per your requirement. This is what? Open source. This is what? Open source. So once I give a package to you as unmanaged package, you get the complete package elements along with the source code, and once I deliver the package to you, I don't have any more control on it because you have choice to add whatever you want. That's the reason it's called unmanaged. Capital cannot manage it. That's why it's called unmanaged. The same package, if I give it as managed package, the package will come, but the source code will not be there. When you download something, you will get a icons, right? Icons will be there. Code will not be open. Icons will come only. Right? So what happened? You will not be getting the source code. You will be getting only the package. Now can I, JP Morgan, make any changes on it? As you cannot see the source code, you cannot make any modification on it. You have to use exactly what it is. So tomorrow, Capital Info want to update the package and they want to release a new version. What they will do? They will create one more package. Manage the package 1.1 version and they will give you. So who is controlling the changes in the package? When I want to release it, Capital Info has a control to modify the things in the package. It adds new components in the package, release a new version. Again, you want to add any new things? Add new things to the package, release a new version. So the person who is building this package, organization in which the package is built, they have the control to make the changes on the package. That's why it's called as what? Managed package. Unmanaged, source code will come to you. Managed, source code will not come to you. Are you clear about this? People are clear? Managed packages and unmanaged packages. Okay. Now, there is a namespace. There is a concept called namespace. Now, let us say in this batch 11:30 people are sitting as well as 7 o'clock people are sitting in this class. 7:30 people are sitting, 11:30 people are sitting. Now in this, I have a person called Ravi. I want to speak to a person called Ravi. In 11:30 there is a person called Ravi. In 7:30 also there is a person called Ravi. When I say Ravi, who will respond? Both of them will respond. So what should I do? To remove this conflict, I have to say 11:30 batch Ravi. Then who will respond? Only one person. How will they resolve the conflict? How do I resolve the conflict? By giving a naming convention. What is the naming convention? Batch name followed by student name. Are you getting? So when you are building a package, let us say I developed one package. Package 1, package 2, package 3. 3 packages I developed. When I developed 3 packages, this package has 1. In this package also we have 1. There are 3 classes. Class 1, class 2. Class 1, class 3. Class 2. Right. Now I have like this. Now when I say call the class number 1. When I say call the class number 1, from which one you want to call? You want to call from package 1? You want to call from package 2? You want to call from package 3? From where you want to call? Class 1. Class 1 is available in 2 forms. In package 1 there is one class called 1. In package 2 there is one more class called 1. Which one you want to call? So to remove this conflict, we are giving a naming convention. We are giving a namespace. Simply, there is a method called send. The send method is there in the web service. Send method is there in the email programming. Send method is there in the invocation methods. When I say send, which is send? Is it an email send? Is it a web service send? Is it the send method what you define? That is the reason what we do. Messaging dot single email message. What is the messaging? Namespace. So when I say boss, I am referring to the class from this. I am referring to the class of single email message from the namespace called messaging. In this namespace, there is a class called messaging. That class I am referring. When I say database dot insert. When I say insert is a method, we are calling database. Call the insert method in the database namespace. What is the purpose of it? This is to remove the conflict. Are you clear? So how do you build the namespace? Go to the packages. Create. What are you finding? Packages. So here we can build a package, we can build a namespace. If you want to build a package, new package, use the package name. Add what are the things you want to create in the package and upload it. But when you want to give this package to someone, test storage should be met. There should be 75% test storage for every element. Otherwise, we cannot give the package to anyone else. Okay. Similarly, simply what I am doing, create a package, add the components. What are the things that you want to add in the package? Simply add, like your change set. How do you do in the output change set? Create a change set, add the components. Similarly, the package also, create a package, add the components to the package. Now, when you want to go for a namespace, developer settings, edit, continue. Once you enable the namespace, you cannot disable. That's the reason I will not be enabling. I will show it till the last step, but I will not enable it. Namespace, let us say, check the namespace. Go to the developer settings, enable, review my selection, then click on save. If I click on save, the namespace will be enabled. Once the namespace is enabled, we cannot disable it. Okay. So how do you go for a creation of namespace 30? How do you go for it? Setup. Setup, build, create, packages, developer settings, edit, then continue. enter your namespace name, check availability, review your selection. Enter the name, click on check availability, review my selection. People are clear? Now, I don't want to use the namespace because once I create a namespace, everything I will give namespace dot class name, namespace dot page name, namespace dot variable name. I don't want to make lengthy program, so I'm not enabling it. Okay. Right now, this is the primary basic settings. Once you are done, how do you create? First, I am trying to create a lightning application. How to create a lightning application? How to create a lightning application? Look at the format. You got a user. Go to the developer console. Go to the developer console. Then file, new. We already done with creation of classes, triggers, Visual Force components. Here we have lightning application. Application 1. Enter the lightning application 1. Every lightning application will start with ERA. What is the framework we are using? What is the framework? ERA. ERA framework we are using. Okay, we are using ERA framework. Here, every lightning application will start with ERA application. Now here, one application is one page. One application is one page. All the application will have extension of .app. All the applications will have extension of .app. Every application is one page. What is the framework? ERA framework you are using. ERA framework you are using. ERA framework you are using. What is the framework? Okay, ERA framework you are using. Right, boss. Now, lightning application will have .app. Now, what are the attributes we have in the lightning? Look at the point. We'll start with the attributes. Access. Now, what is this access? Now, can this application can be used by other application? Generally, when you create a FX class, then we say, can this class be inherited by other class? If you want a class to be inherited by other class, we give it as virtual. Similarly, can this application be inherited by another application? Can this application be inherited by other application? Then we say access. When we say access equal to global, this application can be used in another application. This application can be used in other application. When we say access equal to public, this application cannot be used in other application. Application 1, can I include this application 1 in application 2? Yes, if access equal to global. No, if access equal to public. Right. Next, controller. What is the purpose of controller? If you want to use any FX class in the lightning application, then we give controller. Extension. Suppose if you want to extend another application, you want to include another application. If you want to include another application, then we give it as what? Extends. When you say extends, you are extending another application within your application. Extensible. Can I extend this or not? Extensible equal to true, extensible equal to false. When you say extensible equal to false, you cannot extend this application in other applications. Then we have implements. If you want to use any interface, we give it as what? Implements. So these are the couple of attributes what we have. So let us look at this. I created an application. Then you are finding here. What is the option you are finding here? Preview. Click on preview. When you click on the preview, we got the output here. I told you, Lightning will give simply a white page. Now you design whatever you want. Right. So what you are finding? Application name .app. Why are you getting the C here? You are getting the C here, right? if you don't create any namespace, by default the namespace is C. If you don't create any namespace, by default the namespace is C. Suppose if I create a namespace as a capital, we get your domain name / capital / application name. If you don't create any namespace, by default it is C. That is the reason we are getting /C / application1.ap. Are you clear? Are you clear about this? Okay. Now let us look at this. Once I created this application, now I told you already, application is a collection of components. What is a component? Reusable. Now I created a component called Apex page block. How many times I use the same component? Number of times. Page block we use number of times as per our requirement. Title value is different. Help URL is different. For the same component I use it multiple number of times as per your requirement. So what is that page block? Reusable entity. Reusable entity. Similarly, Lightning component is also reusable entity. Lightning component is also reusable entity. So how to create your Lightning component? So how do you create a Lightning component? Look at the format. If I want to create a Lightning component, file. Now we are using Lightning component 1. I have given component 1. I am not touching any one of these. Lightning component. All the components will be starting and ending with era component. Era component. It will be using with era component. Every component will be starting with era component. Now, all the components will have .cmp. The extension name of the component is .cmp. For application we have .app. For components we are going to have .cmp. Component. We are going to have .cmp. Now I give here. Now we created a component. So all the components will start and end with what? Raw component. So here we give some body. Now component alone will not run. Component should be added to the application, then only the component will run. So how to add the component to an application? How to add a component to an application? Go to the new Lightning application. F1. Now, if you have any namespace, it should be namespace column component. This is how I have created. But did we create any namespace? We have not created any namespace. As you have not created a namespace, if there is no namespace, then we have to use like this we are going. If you are not defined a namespace, you have to use C colon. You have to use C colon component name. Then, as we are not defined any namespace, how do you refer now? C colon. What is the component name? The name of the component is 1. C colon 1. This is how we got it here. This is line 1, line 2, line 3. Are you clear? So how you are giving? Creating a component, including that component within a application. So let us give one more time. I am going to create multiple number of components. Let us see. Student component. we have some data I'm giving it. Component 1 I have created. I'm going with lightning component 2. I am creating one more component. So I'm just some defense. So I have given some details. So I am giving multiple components here. So I have created 3 components. I am going to include all the components. I am going to include all the components within the. So application is a collection of components. So I am creating student tab. In the student tab I am creating. How do you refer? C colon. Why C colon? Why C colon? Because it's a no namespace. Student C colon higher education. Then we have address. So it's a collection of components. So application is a collection of components. Click on the preview. You are able to see the preview of this. Are you clear about this? So we are creating a component. It is a collection of components. Collection of components. Application is a collection of component. If you want to use the component, we are going to use C colon component name. C colon component name. C colon component name. If there is no namespace. Suppose if you have any namespace colon component name. Am I clear with this? Right. Let us go to the next one. People have followed this creation. Everyone is clear? Okay. Now, for the component what we are creating, I want to apply some CSS. I want to apply some CSS tag. For the component what we are creating, we want to apply some CSS tag. So how do you apply the CSS for a component? Look at this. We are going with the lightning component. Initially I created H1. Now I created my own component div. This is line 3. Let's say red line div this. I created a component. How do you display this component? Is it audible for everyone? Is it audible? Is it audible for everyone? Any issue? Right. Now I created a component. Once you create a component, how do you add the component application? Lightning application. Now I'm going with the employee. When you go with the employer, how do you refer it now? C colon employee. C colon employee. First have a preview of it. When you had a preview, this is the format in which we received. Line 1, line 2, line 3, you got it. Now, I want to apply some CSS. When you want to apply some CSS, if you go to the right corner, what you are finding here? What is the name of the component? Employee component. What is the name of the component? Employee component. Open the component, the right side you are finding what? Style. When you click on the style, employee.css is created. When you click on this, what is the file we received? Employee.css. What is the file we received? Employee.css. Are you getting my point? We received employee.css. So this is the CSS file for this component. For the component, this is the CS file. Okay. In the CS file, I am giving a I'll take margin left. You are finding dot this, right? Where is the dot this? The component which you call for the component, entire component. The component for which the CSS is required, that entire component is referred with the dot this. Margin left 50 pixels. Then I want to define h1 dot for h1 I told then I am taking have a preview, go to the application, have a view. What happened? You got the spaces here. I told entire application, entire component from the top. This is 0, 0. From the left give 10 margin. From the top give margin. From left and top I give margin. And I told for H1 component, H1 is the HTML component. It's the HTML component. Right? H1 dot this. H1 dot this. H1 component dot this. H1 component dot this. For the H1 component, we are applying this property. Now, let us go to the next step. Are you clear about this? When you say dot this entire component. For entire component, we got the gap here. For entire component, we fill the gap. For entire component, dot this. For entire component, this property is applied. In that, for H1, I give orange. Now again, I am giving. Go to dots. Again, I am giving DAView dot. For the div component, I am giving background yellow and color red. Background yellow, color red. Now, I don't want to apply for every div element. When I say div, all the div elements in the page will have the same color. As per my requirement, I don't want the same color to be given for all the div. So what I will do? I am going to give component class equal to. There is a class equal red. We are applying a style called red. Go back to this. What we are doing? Dot this. Dot in the component element whose class name is red. Element whose class name is red. For the element background color. Dot this, dot red. Go to the page. So in that component, element whose class name equal to red, for that apply the background equal to update a preview. Because a div is there, let me remove the div. The spaces are issued here. So go back, have a preview. We applied. Right, boss. So similarly, I want to give we are giving background. Go back to the component. How you define it? The component whose class equal to blue for the component. Open the string. What was the issue here? Dot this. Dot blue. Background. Spelling mistake in spelling mistake. Right. Go back. Have a preview. This is how we got. Are you getting the point here? So if you want everything for every element, all the elements whose name is div, I want to apply. So what I will do? Dot div. Dot. Okay, what is that? Div. Dot. All the elements in the component whose all the elements in the component which has a div, that we apply. But I told they will have a yellow color, but I have given some extra classes. So if you define extra classes, the classes are overridden the div. By default, they will be applied. If you want to change, you change it to red, you change it to blue. Are you getting my point? By default, everything will have yellow. The second component I have not given any class, but we received a class because I told every element in the page which is a div should have a background color equal to yellow. Are you getting? Let me create one more example. So what was this? Applying the background colors, applying the CSS. CSS example. So here I given this is how we created. We want to use this in the application. So how do you use it? How do you use this in the application? C colon. We have given this. Have a preview. We got line 1, line 2. We got that. This is the format we got. Now we want to apply the CSS on this. So how do you apply the CSS? Go to the component. On whichever the component you want to apply the CSS, open that component, click on style. Open the component on which you want to apply the CSS, click on style. When you click on style, we got dot this. When you say dot this, the entire component is referred with dot this. When you say dot this, entire component is referred. In the entire component I am giving here margin. Chitra class है ना? Chitra. Margin left, margin top. paying the money and learning seriously. Right. We have margin left, margin top. So when you say margin left, margin top, so what happened here? So we are getting element margin left, margin top. It is giving the margin of 100 pixel for every element. Giving the margin of 100 pixel for every element. So I removed it. It has given margin left, margin left, margin left. Then go back to the next one. Next I am trying to take element. In this element I want to say for the H1 I want to give properties. H1 dot H1 in this component. H1 in this component. In this component class. Okay, component dot class. Okay, component dot class. If you want to refer the HTML element dot this element in this component. H1 in this element. Div in this element. TR in this element. Table in this element. So HTML element dot this. If you are trying to go with a class, this dot class. So H1 dot this. I'm giving font size. By default, H1 will have some font. I'm making it. Font weight. Font weight I have taken. Font weight bold I have taken. So H1 dot this. Go back. So we got this is line 1. So I am taking here again. Apply. So when you go for this, in the page element which is defined with H1, for the element we give some font size, font weight. Font weight is what? Bold, italic, normal. Okay, font weight. So I have taken a font weight as bold. Bold, font size I give background color. Are you getting my point? So whatever the CSS you want to apply, we are trying to apply the CSS here. Similarly, H2 I have. So how do you define for H2? Tell me. H2 dot background. Then font size. I don't give it font weight. Go back to the page. Element whose which is defined with the H2. It is not a bold, so we got normal face. The size is font size is 80 pixel. This is 60 pixel. Then we want to go with the next one. What are the next elements we have? The next elements are defined with the div. There are 3 elements with the div. So I am going to take here. Div dot. I am going to say width 200 pixel. Height. Border 5 pixel. Solid. I give every div element should have width of 200 pixel, height of 50 pixel, border should be there, background color. We are applying some properties here. And I am giving border. So go back. So every element. So we told background color yellow, border radius I give so that you are getting color marks. So here I am giving border radius 20 pixel. Solid, I told solid red so that you are getting border with red color. I'm getting some curve here. Now what I want to give, I want to give some gap in between the element. So what I can do, I'm giving margin top 10 pixel. I told margin top 10 pixel. So as per your requirement, you are giving the gaps. I told margin top 10 pixel. For every element, there is a 10 pixel gap for every element. We are defined. Now I don't want yellow color to be defined for every element. I want to have a different style for this. Now if you observe this, what is happening? Data is coming through the line. Now this is the entire page boss. Look at the screen carefully. Now this is the page. What is the page actually? This is the page. This is the page, right? In the page, this is 0.00. This point is what? This point. The corner point, what we have? The corner point, what we have here is 0, 0. That is 0, 0. Top 0, left 0, top 0, left 0. Now, the gap what you are finding here, is called margin. The gap what you are finding here is called margin. Now, in this margin, let us say I am printing one element here. This is the element what I am printing. We are printing an element. In that element, I want to print a message. What is the message you want to print? In this element, I want to print a message called Satish. Now, from here to here, what is this called? Margin. Okay. Starting of the page, at what level you want to print the element? Your element is printed here. So, element is printed here. What is this called? Margin. So, this is an element. With that margin, the element should be printed. In the element, from where the message should be printed. In the element, we can print the message from here, right? The message can be printed from here. I can print the message from here. But are you printing the message from there? Are you printing the message from there? So what is that gap called? This gap you are giving is called padding. It's called padding. In the element, from where should I print? In the page, what is the space you want to give is the margin. In the element, you already given an element with the height, width you have given. In the element, with the what space you want to give, that is called padding. Are you getting? Now if you look at the screen, are you giving any padding? That is the reason, this is line 5, line 3, line 4, everything is coming from where? 1. Are you getting my point? So, I want to define my own properties. How are you defining? Now I want to define dot this, dot 1. What is the dot 1? Class. Dot this, dot 1. Here I am saying padding left 20 pixel. Now I am giving dot this to padding left 50 pixel, padding top. So I gave some CSS. Class 1 will have padding left, class 2 will have padding left and top. So go back to the component. In the component I am giving class class 1, class 2. Go back, reload. So look at this one. When I said left, this is line 3 is coming on the top only. There is no space on the top. But left there is only 20 pixel. I told padding left 50 pixel, padding top. Right. So what is that? Along with the div, you want to apply some extra CSS, you can give it. You can apply some extra CSS, you can give it. Suppose, including the background color I want to change. I am giving here dot this. Then I want to give. So I am giving padding dot this. Go to the component. It's a dot 3. So which will dominate? Class will dominate the element. Class will dominate the element. Are you clear about this? So trying to apply the CSS of your requirement. Generally used what? Margins, borders, margin, border, padding, font weight, font color, font size. This will be commonly used elements here. I hope you are clear with this. Applying the CSS on the components. Applying the CSS on the components. Every component will have, open the component, click on style, the corresponding component style will open. If component is one.css. If component is employee.css. Dot this entire component. In the component, if you want to apply the CSS for every element, then we say element dot this. If you want to apply for in the component, you want to define a class dot this dot class. Dot this dot class. Are you clear? People are clear about this format? This is how you define the CSS. Okay. Applying the CSS for the component. This is how you are done it. Let's go to the next one. We are trying to understand how to define the attributes for the component. You have created only components. Now I want to define attributes for the components. When you say attributes for the component, we will take FX page, title, standard controller, rendered, re-rendered, okay, content type. All these are what? Attributes. Page block table, value, where, row number, start number. All these are what? Attributes. Similarly, you are defining your own component. When you are defining your own component, how to apply the CSS for your, how to create the components for your own, how to create attributes for your own component. When you are creating your own component, how to define the attributes for your component. So let us understand defining the attributes for your component. So defining the attributes for your component. People have followed this. Right, Amma? Then we are going with the new lightning component. .info. Attribute. Name equal to name of the attribute. Name of the attribute, type of the attribute, default value. We can give the default. If you want to make required, we can make it required. The next, attribute. This is how I create it. How are we creating attributes? Attribute name, attribute name, type of attribute, default. Do you want to say required? Required equal to. When you say required equal to true, by default, we need to provide the value. Required. If you want to make this component as required, we need to provide it. I give default equal to 10. I'll take a basic example. Create an attribute. By default, the value is 10. Now what I'm doing? Generally in the VF page, if you want to display the data, how do you display the data? Component. This is how we display, right? In the VF page, the values are displayed in the form of expression. Suppose the same thing, if you want to display in the Lightning attribute value. If you want to display the attribute value, it should be expression v dot attribute name. How are you going to use? V dot attribute name. How are you going to display? V dot attribute name. Are you getting my point? So I am giving here name V dot then I give price V dot attribute name. So we are going with so here we are taking total. This is how I create. So what I am doing was you have taken the attributes. Based on the attributes what you provided, I am going to take I am going to display. If anybody calls this component, based on the values of attribute what you have given, I am going to take this. Name, price, quantity, total, like that I am going to create. So how do you use this in the VF page? Sorry, how do you use this in the application? File, Lightning application. Here I am going to use C colon run it. Then we got here name equal to 10, price equal to 10, quantity equal to 1, total equal to 10 into 1. So I don't want to print 10 into 1, I want to print value. What I will do? Go back to the application. We have here value here. So 10 into 1, we got 10.0. This is how we got the data. Now, these are the default values. If you are not providing any values, by default, which values are taken? Default values are taken. That's how default values are given. Del quantity equal to 1, price equal to 10, the following. But when you are running it, you want to pass the value. How you want to pass the value? Product name equal to price equal to quantity equal to. So at the time of calling a component, you are passing the value. If you don't pass the value, I ask you to take default values. Now you are passing the values. In the application, when you are calling this component, is passing the values of attribute. When you pass the values of attribute, you told name equal to Lenovo, 40,000, 25, total. Are you clear about this? So what I am doing, creating a component with attributes. If you don't pass the value, default values will come. If you don't pass the value, default values will come. So I am giving here, I want to apply some CSS on this so that I can generate a proper output. Now, if you want to apply CSS, what do you do? Click on Style. Apply some CSS. So I give some CSS. Dot this dot class. Sorry. Dot this dot. I give some. I give dot this dot box. So this box I am applying for div. At the same time, I want to give right boss. So the component we received and we want to generate the output for this. So we are getting, so what is the total value we received? Why total value received? Because go to application, have a preview, run from the application. What happened now? Product name Lenovo 40,000. What was the bug from? It's running successfully previously. So what we have taken? We got price, we got quantity. I guess it's something to do with, because first output we got, right? Pardon me? No, the V dot, price. No, already it's a successfully executed program. We have seen the first example, right? We got total price value. What is the price? 30,000. What is the component I've taken? Price and decimal. Line number 9. V dot price. That's an arithmetical operation. Right. Okay. Fine. So go with the format. So what we have done was we applied some CSS on this component with attributes. We have given a component with attributes. What are the attributes I give? If you don't pass the attributes, the default values are taken. If you don't pass the attribute, default values are taken. Then we are going with the applying some CSS to get a proper view of the output. As per your requirement, you can organize the data. Are you clear about this format? Clear for everyone? Clear for everyone? Right. Now, let us take one more example of defining the components with attributes. Let me take one more example. So we are defining a component, new component. I want to calculate interest. I want to calculate interest. Component. The component I want to take. Attribute. If you want to calculate interest, what we require? Name. Amount. People are able to follow these points. Attribute. Name equal to yes. Type equal to now I am giving a rate of interest. So what you are doing? Table amount B dot amount yes of the attributes are referred B dot now we have rate of interest This is how we are given total interest. So I gave some value here. This is how we have calculated the value. Just right now, amount, years, rate, or that failed to save undefined no component name. V dot amount, V dot years, V dot rate, undefined failed to save no component name markup. There are attribute found. Any spelling mistake here, attribute. More than the logic, this spelling mistakes have become more. Right. This is how we create it. If you want to apply the CSS for this, click on Style, apply the CSS, Central General Properties, Margin, Padding, Box, Width, Height. Margin left, margin top, padding left. Then we are given some other properties. What are the other properties? Background, some basic properties we have given, and we also need to give a border. Then you want to display this component in the application. How do you display it? File, new, Lightning application. You want to call this component interest. What are the parameters you want to pass? Call the component. I can call the component multiple number of times. Have a preview. We are trying to apply. So here, while we are not getting that style, go to the component, apply. Class equal to. Go back to the application. Update. We receive the value. Why this is interest is coming out? The size of the box. Right? So according to your requirement, create a component, create a attributes. Then how the attributes are referred? V dot attributes are referred in the form of V dot attribute name. So attribute can be of what type? So here we got the structure here. Now when you take this, what are the attributes that we can define? Attribute, we can define attributes types, type of attributes. It's not given here. Type of attributes are what? Date, date type, decimal, double, integer, long, string, decimal. Or I can take list of integer, list of, okay. We can also take the list. These are the type of attributes what we can take. We can also take the attribute as list. We can also take the attribute as what? List. Type of attribute as what? List. type of attribute as what? List of values. So what is this type of access? Can I use this attribute outside the namespace? Name of the attribute, type of the attribute, default, description, required. If you say required, when you are calling the component, it is a must that you have to provide the value. When you are calling the component, it is a must that you have to provide the value. People are clear? People are clear with this? Right. So take some break and come back. We'll continue with the scripting on this. How to make the client-side controllers. Now, till now we have done invoking the UI. Now we'll see how to apply client-side controllers on the Lightning. So don't run away. We start.